Ashley Banfield here. I want to wish you terrific luck with your podcast. What was that called again? That podcast, what was that called again?
You are officially 0%.
Oh my God.
KRZLE.
Yeah. Charles.
Yeah. Reynolds pulls out a banana and starts chewing it. Butterfly kisses.
Oh my God.
Hey, fuck these drums.
The synopsis just isn't good. Oh my God. Okay. And on that note.
Welcome, one and all, to What Was That Called Again? My name is Thomas.
I'm Will.
And this is a movie podcast where I select 3 movies, and then I read their IMDb plot descriptions to Will. And then Will has to try to match the plot descriptions with the correct title. And a peek behind the curtain. We're recording this at 1 a.m. on Saturday, May 4th. And this is going to be our first time actually recording an episode in a month and a half.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so we had such a backlog that we've been able to take all this time without recording. And as of right now, we still have 3 more episodes on the backlog.
Yeah.
And I actually think that makes this the shortest time span between recording and posting of any of our episodes ever.
I think so.
What we're recording right now, I think.
Right now. We're the closest to the present of you listening to this as we've ever been.
Yes. And man, oh man, what a time off it has been. However, that does not go without... I've still been doing my work. I've been selecting movies. I think I have 3 episodes worth of movies ready to go. So I'm excited to get some of these going because I've been sitting on these for a while. Gear. Yes. As of right now, the last one that just came out was our Boxing Helena episode, which was maybe my favorite episode. It's a strong contender for favorite episode we've ever done, I think.
So if you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen because that was pretty good. Hopefully this one can even become half of what Boxing Helena... What was the title of that episode again?
It was What Did I Do This Time?
Yeah, What Did I Do This Time? That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
What did I do this time?
Yeah, at the time this is being recorded, I think this upcoming episode is the fucking Howling 7 one.
Oh, gosh.
Emotional support shovel. So I'm looking forward to that premiering and getting good feedback, which will probably be the same that we usually get, which is nothing.
Yeah, unless you're in Russia.
That is correct. If
you need to get a hold of us.
So we've been consistently getting 1 download almost every single episode from Russia. So if you are our one Russian listener, Putin, and you are listening to this right now,
Putin,
send us an email at www.tcapod@protonmail.com. And we just want to hear from you. I don't even care what your email is.
Just say hi.
Say hi and then hit send. That's good enough for me.
Or if by some reason you're using a VPN and you have it set to Russia, email us as to why. What are you getting out of that?
Yes, and also tell us what VPN you're using because I have Nord and Russia is not an option. So yeah, I want to know what it is that you're using if it's a VPN. But if you're actually in Russia, tell us how you found the show. And tell us why you're listening.
We're both curious. Yeah.
Super curious.
And also tell us if there are any, we've had one listener so far, Lily, submit films that I don't know yet what those films are.
Which I still need to watch so I can include them in an episode.
Okay. But if you're from Russia or anywhere that is maybe more regional than just the United States, or if you have taste in films that are maybe from anywhere in the world, write those in too and recommend us. But I would love to have our seemingly one Russian listener email us about Russian cinema and what we need to cover here on the show.
Yeah, maybe I need to do a Russia week, and I'll pick 3 different Soviet era films, and
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll try to branch out further than just Andrei Tarkovsky, which I think is what everybody, like the most stereotypical American knowledge of Russian.
Did you ever watch,
film.
sidebar, did you ever watch that Russian Ark movie?
No, I haven't, but
I've mentioned it to you like 80 times, I think, over the course of our friendship.
And I actually just literally maybe 3 days ago while I was at work, I've been listening to Smodcast, and I just heard Scott Mosier mention that movie earlier this week. Because they were talking about Rope. They were talking about Hitchcock's Rope, and Scott Mosier brought up that movie.
I know that I watched it. It was before I moved to California for film school. I did a semester online, and I know I watched it there, but I can't. It had to have been after that I listened to Smodcast, because I don't think I was listening to that podcast at the time until I moved out to California. But I do remember hearing about it on Smodcast and being like, holy shit, I literally watched this recently. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. For anyone who hasn't seen Russian Ark, this is a really weird start to this show, but anyway, go watch this.
I've seen clips. I don't think I've ever seen it beginning to end. Yeah.
So clips about this. So, and that's the thing, is you can watch trailers, you can watch clips or whatever. That's not really the fascinating part about the Russian Ark movie itself. It's like 90 minutes, if not exactly 90 minutes, and it's all, at least seemingly, done in one take with one camera, and they're going through this incredible museum, and along the journey through this museum, they are basically telling the, whatever it was, 400 or 600 or however many hundreds of years history of Russia, or the land that is Russia. And it's really fascinating. From a filmmaking standpoint, it's incredibly fascinating to watch the behind the scenes of how they did it, because they had several hundred extras. They had to do set changes and costume changes without ever stopping the camera. And they only had so many takes to do the whole thing, because the museum never closes. So the Russian government, or whoever it was that controls this museum, agreed to give the filmmakers like 36 hours or it was a short amount of time, 3 days or whatever it was, with the museum closed, that they could do this film, and they had to get it done in that moment. So it's really fascinating to watch. It's a cool film. It's uniquely done. Russian Ark. It's like 90 minutes. But it's cool.
There we go. There's our random wreck of the week.
Random wreck of a movie that we'll never watch, or that we'll never do on this show, because I've seen it. And
it's one of the only movies that Will remembers the name of, and also what it's about.
Yeah. So we'll never cover it here. So there you go. Russian Ark.
Yeah. So Russian listener, if you exist,
yeah,
let us know.
We're pandering to you now.
Tell us what you think. Tell us what you think of Russian Ark. We're dying to know. With that out of the way, Will, we're a little bit rusty. I don't think the listeners can tell, though, so far. Are you ready to go and see what you have in store for you this week? I'll just say I'm as ready as I'll ever be. Godspeed. Hey, drink check. What do you got sipping on over there?
Well, I had wine when we first got on Skype, but that felt like it was like 2 hours ago.
And I think it was 2 hours ago.
Yeah, and then I am almost finished with my tradition of vodka lemonade. Mm-hmm. So that's almost gone. And other than that, I'm already getting very dry-mouthed just talking right now. So I was at that point too. I had 2 glasses of wine before we even got on Skype. At 8 o'clock today, which was 5 hours ago, is when we started that glass of wine. Yep. And then I was feeling pretty low energy, so I slammed a bang. And about an hour ago, it perked me right up, and I'm still perked up, but it made my mouth feel pretty dry. So I'm sipping on a Waterloo, not a sponsor, carbonated water beverage, orange vanilla flavor. Nice. Highly recommended to everyone out there, even though they don't sponsor our show. So maybe I'll cut them out. Who knows? Maybe. All right. SloppySecondSales.com. Yes. Who refuses to email me back 2 or 3 months later. Like no one wants to email us, is what we're finding out. IMDb, Sloppy Second Sales, don't want to send us emails. Are we sure our email works? I reach out to people. They don't email me back. Like, we can't get any action. That's really what we're discovering, is that no one just wants to email us at all. Yeah. We have like the saddest email account ever.
we can go ahead and dive right in this week.
I'm ready.
And you're going to be launching off this week in the year 1961.
Ooh, okay. 61.
Your synopsis reads as follows. A young woman joins a theatrical troupe where she slowly believes that the director is involved with a secret group and that he is in grave danger.
Ooh. 1961, a woman joins a theatrical troupe where she believes the director is involved with a secret group and is in danger?
Yes.
At first, that sounded familiar with the joining of a circus group, but
theatrical
troupe. But then it
you changed that to circus group.
Yeah, I did right away. Hey, I've got a theater background, part of a partial theater major. That's close. Okay, that's close enough. Theatrical troupe. That sounded familiar at first, but then whenever you said that the director is a part of a secret group and that he may be in trouble, that I don't know if that sounds familiar at all. 1961. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder how she found out about, or what made her think that he's a part of this secret group, and also what makes her think that he doesn't know that he's in danger. There's a lot of questions there.
Yes.
And also, what is the theatrical troupe doing? What are they?
Is the circus involved?
Is there circus arts?
How do they work the circus into this thing?
The circus is always involved. Okay, next.
Yeah, a lot of questions left open. Your next movie is going to come from a year later in 1962.
62.
And your synopsis for this one reads as follows. Decades of a love triangle concerning two friends and an impulsive woman.
Decades.
Yes.
Decades of a love triangle involving an impulsive who?
Concerning two friends and an impulsive woman.
Oh, concerning two friends and an impulsive woman. So the two friends guys, and then the impulsive woman is like the third between them, maybe? But decades-long love triangle.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So why did we keep this thing going for decades? Decades, not just like a couple years, not even a decade. This is decades long love triangle between involving two friends and an impulsive woman in 1962.
Yes.
Interesting. Definitely does not sound or feel familiar at all. Okay. Next.
Your final movie this week. I forgot to write down the year.
Okay.
But it happens to be...
Bonus game. I gotta guess the year.
It happens to be from 1966.
Oh, dang. Okay.
And your synopsis for it reads as follows. A gangster escapes jail and quickly makes plans to continue his criminal ways elsewhere, but a determined inspector is closing in.
Ooh. 1966. Read this one again? Sorry.
Yep. A gangster escapes jail and quickly makes plans to continue his criminal ways elsewhere, but a determined inspector is closing in.
What do they mean by elsewhere? They mean like other than jail?
Yes.
Or do they mean like
he made the wise decision to continue being a criminal outside of prison?
I mean, we don't know where he escapes to. I'm assuming he escapes somewhere near where he was arrested, or where he was a gangster, and he decides to move somewhere else to continue his gangster career. Not that he was doing crime in prison and then left prison to do crime elsewhere. Okay, so 1966, a gangster escapes prison to continue his crime elsewhere. But a what detective?
Determined inspector.
Determined inspector is closing in. 1966.
Yep.
None of these sound familiar. Like I said, the first one like sort of started to ring a bell, but then it didn't. So let me try to recap these. So the first one was 1961, and it was about a woman who joins a theatrical troupe becomes worried or something like that the director is involved with a secret group and he may be in danger.
Yeah.
Close? Okay. Mm-hmm. The second one was 1962, and it was about a decades-long love triangle between two friends and an impulsive woman.
That is correct.
And the third one is 1966. It's about a gangster who escapes prison to continue his crime lifestyle elsewhere. But a determined inspector is closing in.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm really curious how these titles are going to go. Title me.
All right. Your first title this week is going to be Jules and Jim.
Oh, God. Jules and Jim. Jules and Jim. So, I mean, I don't feel like that's the gangster one because Jules, I mean, well, maybe I was thinking Jules was like a female name, but maybe Jules is just like a gangster name or like a last name or something.
That is Sam Jackson's character's name in Pulp Fiction.
Or it could also be a male's name. You're right. So, that's right. It was, yeah. I need to watch Pulp Fiction, I guess. No, I've seen Pulp Fiction.
It's Reservoir Dogs. He hasn't seen it.
I know. I still got to watch that. Jules and Jim. So maybe this is then the gangster. So immediately I was going to say it's not the gangster because it just didn't feel like it. But as soon as I said that, I started to say, well, maybe it is. Maybe the mobster is nicknamed Jules, and Jim is the determined inspector. I mean, I guess it could. It could maybe be the female who joins a theatrical troupe, maybe, and maybe the director's name is Jim, but that doesn't feel right. And then if there was a third name, it would make sense for the love triangle. But why are we leaving someone out of that? Unless it's just the two friends, Jules and Jim. And they're like, and it's the movie's about them dealing with this impulsive female who remains unnamed. Okay, second title.
Your second title is going to be Paris Belongs to Us.
Oh my, that sounds really familiar. Paris Belongs to Us. I mean, Paris screams some kind of menage a trois love triangle, right? I mean, there has to be. Paris Belongs to Us.
No comment.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak a foreign language there for a second. I'm sure it'll be translated in the transcripts. Paris Belongs to Us. So us implies more than one, but also that they're a group. They're at least a couple, but possibly more than one. So they're a thing. So the gangster and the detective or the inspector, no. But I still don't know what this theatrical troupe and the director thing. So I feel confident in this one. I feel like this one, I'm going to temporarily lock this one in unofficially as the 1962 decades-long love triangle between two friends and an impulsive woman. As Paris Belongs to Us. That title also it rings a bell. It's very faint, but it rings a bell. All right, third title.
Your final title is going to be The Second Wind.
Oh man, that doesn't fit anything. Jesus. The Second Wind. What? I mean, you could make an argument that like The Second Wind is like the gangster starting his life of crime again somewhere elsewhere. That could be like his second win, second wind as far as he's getting like another go at it, rejuvenated to start again. But I still feel like that's Jules and Jim. Second wind. The second wind or a second wind?
Yeah, the
second wind. Ooh. Why would that be the theatrical troupe movie? But why would Jules and Jim be the theatrical troupe movie? Well, this is hard. Damn. The Second Wind. The Second Wind. Why would I call it? These are all 60s movies.
Yeah.
There seems to be an element in all of these of some kind of secrecy, maybe. I don't know if the love triangle is known. You didn't imply that, but it definitely doesn't seem like a throuple. And usually, love triangles, there is some element of activities happening behind the back. And the whole gangster thing, I guess there's not really too much secrecy there. But where I'm going with this, I have no idea anyway. The Second Wind doesn't make sense to any of that. The Second Wind. Man, the Second Wind, I don't know. It has to be... Okay, so if I say the Second Wind is the 1966 gangster escaping prison to continue his life of crime elsewhere, but there's a determined inspector close behind. If I say that's the Second Wind, and I say that Paris Belongs to Us is the 62 film of the love triangle, then that leaves Jules and Jim for the 61 theatrical troupe thing, and I don't know why Jules and Jim, she just joined this troupe. So what makes her special? What makes her, why does she get a name in the title? Jules and Jim. Jules and Jim.
Well, just to play devil's advocate for that line of questioning.
Okay.
The synopsis seems to be implying that the movie is from her perspective. A young woman joins a theatrical troupe where she slowly believes that the director is involved with. So, it seems like it's her story.
Fine. Yeah, I'll accept your devil's advocacy here, but that still doesn't
for a movie
explain...
that I will admit I have not seen.
Okay, but also, why would you name the director if, in fact, his name is Jim? The only reason I'm having this argument is because it just doesn't feel like it fits. But then it also doesn't feel like it fits anywhere else other than the gangster thing. But then if it fits where the gangster thing is at, then that means the Second Wind. Why would the Second Wind be the theatrical troupe thing? Because Paris Belongs to Us feels like it goes with the fucking love triangle. Paris Belongs to Us. Is that just the name of a play? Is that why I'm remembering that? You can tell I'm rusty because this is... I really am not confident on any of these. So I think I'm just going to have to just hope and then figure out which ones I'm changing after this. So, okay. Jules and Jim. Okay. I'm going to officially lock in that the 1961 woman joins a theatrical troupe and she believes that the director is involved with a secret group and in danger, is called Jules and Jim. And then I feel a little bit more confident that the 1962 film of the decades-long love triangle between two friends and an impulsive woman is called Paris Belongs to Us. And maybe I've even seen that. That really sounds familiar. The title sounds familiar. None of these synopses sound or feel familiar at all, but that one title does. And that leaves the 1966 film of a gangster escaping from prison or jail to continue his life of crime elsewhere. But a determined inspector is close behind as the Second Wind. Did I even get anything right?
You did.
Oh, which one did I get right?
You got one correct. That's correct.
Of course. Damn it. God damn it. Okay. So then, okay. So maybe the play that this chick auditioned for and got the role in is called The Second Wind. Maybe. Or maybe she's, here we go. Here's what we're maybe missing from the plot. Maybe she's like, here we go. I'll convince myself with this and still be wrong. But maybe she's like a this is like her second go at acting. Like she acted before. Mm-hmm. Something happened. She had to leave the profession, and now she's back. This is her second wind, and of course, her second wind is going to be this trip where she loses her mind, thinking that the director is in danger. I'm going to buy that. I'll buy that. Okay, so 1961, theatrical troupe, secret group of director in danger, female. Some of those words are in there. That's going to be called The Second Wind. I'm going to keep the 1962 film of the love triangle, two friends, impulsive woman as Paris Belongs to Us. And then that means that the 66 gangster film where he escapes to continue elsewhere with a inspector behind him as Jules and Jim. Final.
All right. And that's going to put you at 0 out of 3.
Oh my gosh, really?
It's a rough first time back in a while.
Yeah. That sucks. I really thought Paris Belongs to Us was the love triangle one. Okay.
No. Paris Belongs to Us is the 1961 film.
God damn it.
So this is one of the first of your favorite era of film, one of the first French New Wave films, very early one.
I bet this is what I've heard. I bet I've seen this movie in a film history class that I slept through.
It is
or it was assigned to me for homework and I just never watched it. That title sounds so familiar.
I've owned the Criterion version of it for probably 7 or 8 years, and it is still in the original plastic from Barnes & Noble.
Of course it will be. That could also be where I bet we went together to buy this. And
I believe you were with me.
That's also where I know the title from.
It is from director Jacques Rivette.
Okay,
it is his debut film. And I will admit that I meant to say it up front. It doesn't impact your results, but
clearly.
So this is one of those ones that like the IMDb synopsis was like a mile long. So I actually read the synopsis for that one off of Letterboxd. Okay. So I wanted to clarify that up front. Well, on the back end, I guess. And it is in the Criterion Collection, as I stated, and it's also streaming at the time of recording on the Criterion channel. So it is accessible. And then, so the movie was actually shot. The movie came out in 1961, but it was actually shot in 1958. And due to a lack of funds, post-production took over a year to complete, and then it took 2 more years to find distribution for the movie. And that sounds like it must have been a nightmare to be the guy who wrote and directed that.
Yeah.
It had to be so stressful to try to get that shit sorted out. I can't even imagine.
But it's also French New Wave, so he probably didn't give a fuck. He was probably like, I just made it to make it, and I don't care who watches it.
I bet it actually probably helped that Godard and fucking Truffaut's movies ended up doing so well whenever they came out. That probably helped him get lifted up, because I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know too much about Jacques Rivette, but I think he was involved in I think he was one of those film critics in that group with those guys at that time. So this is all like ringing bell. Everything you're saying right now is like faint bells from like 15 years ago. From like being asleep and overhearing it in your dreams.
Yeah, in class.
Your second one, which you were certain was Paris Belongs to Us, from 1962, is Jules and Jim.
Why? So there's 2 friends then. Has to be.
Director Francois Truffaut.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe it is his 3rd film. At the time of recording, it is streaming, available on HBO Max as well as the Criterion channel.
Is this the one where there's a bunch of scenes in a car with him smoking and there's a bunch of jump cuts?
No.
Okay. Sorry, I just named like 8 French New Wave films there. I should have narrowed it down.
I think you're thinking of Breathless, probably.
Probably. Who knows? No one.
this movie. There is a Criterion Blu-ray which I own and I have seen. The movie is very well regarded. In fact, if I remember, the back of the Criterion edition states that it is one of the most acclaimed films of all time, quote unquote.
Oh, wow.
I do not hold it in such high regard personally.
Okay.
I do like Truffaut.
Who wrote that?
I do like Truffaut overall, in general, especially as a person. He seemed like he was very interesting, and love his performance in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes.
But that is not one of his movies that I'm very fond of. However, it is very admirable in how it was made. It was made with a crew of only 15 people. Very low budget. The lead actress, the quote-unquote impulsive woman, played by Jeanne Moreau, probably saying her name incorrectly, but that was her. She was a pretty big star at the time, and she took a pretty big pay cut to be in this movie, which was very nice of her, and I think she put some of her salary into the budget.
Oh, wow. She really wanted it to happen then, huh?
And I also read that Truffaut was so nervous for the premiere of the movie that instead of going to the premiere of the movie, he went and saw a Marx Brothers film instead.
That's great.
I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, love Truffaut. Not one of my personal favorites. Last but not least, you have The Second Wind.
The Second Wind. I was so close.
From one of my favorite filmmakers, and it is actually one of, I think, 3 movies left that I've never seen of his, and I need to fix that at some point, sometime soon, hopefully. It is from director Jean-Pierre Melville. And there was not a lot of information about this on IMDb, I will say. At the time of recording, it is available on the Criterion channel. There is a Criterion Collection release of the movie. However, disappointingly, at the time of recording, in May of 2024, there is no Blu-ray for the movie. There's only a DVD release. So I have not bought it because I know if I fucking buy that thing, they're going to put out a 4K fucking release of it.
The world is waiting for you.
So I'm trying to hold off on that, but I do want to own all of his movies eventually. So look out eventually for a 4K release of The Second Wind from Criterion, probably. It is, according to IMDb trivia, one of Werner Herzog's favorite movies of all time.
Ooh, okay.
It is, as with a lot of Melville's crime films, it is very well regarded. I have loved all of the crime movies of his that I've ever watched. I've enjoyed all the movies of his that I've watched, but the crime ones are like his bread and butter. And so I really need to fix that and watch that one at some point. All right. Going over some of the information on those. How do you think these stack up on the IMDb ratings?
Well, one of these is apparently the most acclaimed movie ever made. So that'll be sure to sway my decision some. French New Wave again. I love this stuff. It's my favorite. So I'm trying not to put a bias in my ratings here. Let's see here, the IMDb ranking. So I'm just to recap again. I'm just putting these 3 in order of what their actual IMDb score is.
Let me correction. So the the Criterion release, what it says is it starts the description on the case as hailed as one of the finest films ever made.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
One of the finest.
Hailed.
It's not the most acclaimed, but one of the finest.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
They're being nice.
So make of that what you will.
Yeah, I'll make that as they had to put a nice little blurb on the back, and that was what they put to sell copies. Okay, but at least it's not the most acclaimed, so that does help a little bit. Okay, let's see here. I don't even know what the range might be because there's 60s films and they're new wave, and I'm assuming are they all French language?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So this will be interesting.
all 3 Criterion flicks.
That's true too. You're right. So maybe the range here is higher than I'm thinking. Like I said, I'm really not trying to put my own bias on this. They're all in the 2s.
Hey, Melville wasn't new wave technically, and
that's true. It was after that.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say that the range, and this doesn't matter. I don't know. I'm putting this much pressure on it, but I'm going to say the range is low. Oh, I'm going to hate this. I'm going to be nice. Low 7s to mid 6s.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say that man, I'm torn between Jules and Jim and Paris Belongs to Us, because after you explained Jules and Jim, I'm pretty sure I have actually seen parts of both of these in that class that I slept through a lot of.
There's like a famous shot from Jules and Jim, which is what I think of whenever I think of the movie. There's this shot of the 3 of them in the love triangle. The girl is in the middle, and they're all 3 holding hands, and they're like running across a bridge. I don't know if that image rings a bell or not. That sounds
a little familiar. Yeah,
it's in black and white, and yeah.
Well, I think from what I remember, they all were that we watched in history class, at least, of the new wave.
Which,
era.
Actually, sidebar really quick, doesn't really matter, but all 3 of these are actually black and white, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Melville must have intentionally made this black and white the second win for some reason, because he made colored movies before this, but yeah, all 3 black and white.
Wanted to give it that grittiness of the gangsta,
I guess.
Okay, so back to the rating. So I think it's, like I said, low 7s to mid 6s, and I'm going to say that this is kind of a coin flip. I'm going to say that Jules and Jim is first, and then I'm going to say that The Second Wind is second, actually, and then Paris Belongs to Us is third.
All right. Your rating spread, as per usual, is pretty close.
Okay.
You're always very close with your spread.
If I can do anything, I can guess numbers.
Yeah. Your the lowest one is Paris Belongs to Us.
Okay.
With a 6.7.
Oh, okay.
At the time of recording. Pretty respectable.
Mm-hmm.
Your second place is Jules and Jim.
Oh, wow. Okay.
With a very respectable 7.7.
Ooh, that's higher than I thought it would be, actually.
Yeah. And your highest rated out of the 3 is The Second Win with a 7.9.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang
is right. I do have a drum roll.
Time.
So this is going to be another one of these quotes that's like one line from one person and another line from another person.
Multiple characters. Here we go.
Yes.
And, this is where you pull a quote or quotes or a line of dialogue from IMDb and read it to me in characters or a character of your choosing, which may or may not have anything to do with the actual film.
Yes.
And may or may not make me laugh.
Yes, and may or may not be a quote that's in the movie, because people can just put whatever they want on IMDb, except for us.
Right.
And so your quote, in parentheses, S, from IMDb, from 2 different characters in 2 different voices, reads as follows. I know you know. You don't know what I know. That's it.
Okay. One, I was thrown off because your first character sounded almost exactly like you. And then the second character was just a slightly lower version of almost just like you. So read the quote again.
Yes. First person says, I know you know.
Uh-huh.
Second person says, you don't know what I know.
I know you know.
Maybe I'm putting emphasis on the wrong part of that. I don't know how it's said, but you don't know. Yeah. You don't know what I know.
You're just reading it as you would have read the script during your audition.
Yes.
I know you know. You don't know what I know. I know you know. You don't know what I know. So is this the detective and the gangster talking? Is this the two friends discussing the fact that they're realizing that they're in a decades-long love triangle? Or is this the female, or even maybe it's not even the main characters, it could just be anybody talking about this director's secret group or whatever, and possibly being in danger. I know you know. So this also sounds like it's maybe snipped from a much lengthier conversation.
I agree.
I know you know. You don't know what I know. I mean, I like those lines. I know you know. Okay, like I said, this really, actually, this is a good quote because usually your quotes are pretty, to no fault of your own. It's just what you have to choose from, I guess. They're usually pretty easy to tell, like where they kind of fit as far as which one of the three films. This one, I really feel like it could be any of these films. But I'm just going to have to go with my gut instinct because I really don't know. My first instinct was that it was this escaped gangster and the determined inspector. Is that going to be my final answer? I know you know. You don't know what I know. Oh, man. I'm in my head, I'm trying to like picture all of these characters that we just recently became acquainted to say this. I mean, but clearly it could be anybody in the movie. And it doesn't have to be these main characters. But why would I know you know, you don't know what I know? Oh, man. And it's also French, too.
With different tonal inflections.
I know you know. You don't know
what I know.
What I know. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to have to, because this really is, I have no idea. This really feels like it could be in any of these films. Like the one that it feels maybe the least it could be in is maybe Paris Belongs to Us. Just because, like I said, it could maybe be like side characters who said this, but as far as the characters that we've been introduced to here, that feels like the least likely that it could be the actress or the director. I know you know, you don't. Well, maybe it could be. Like maybe she's saying, I'm going to convince myself of the thing that I just said it wasn't.
The thing that you said it definitely is absolutely not.
I'm just thinking like it could be like she could be saying, are you in a secret group? I know you're in a secret group. And then he could say, I know you know. And then she could say, you don't know what I know, because she's implying that she knows that he might be in danger. Damn it. Okay, so why would the I almost said guitarist. It's gangster. Why would the gangster and inspector have this conversation? I know you know, you don't know what I know. Maybe it's not that one. Dang it! Did I really just flip myself on this whole thing? Okay. So, God, if it is the second wind, oh my God! So I'm going to now change everything that I just said, and I'm going to go with this is from Paris Belongs to Us.
Man, oh man, the old flipperoo.
That's
pays
right.
off because you're right.
Oh yeah, did I get the characters right?
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess that I Know You Know is the director, probably because it's the second billed person on the cast list,
right?
As that character. But the woman that says "You don't know what I know," I don't think is the young woman joins a theatrical troupe, because it is a woman that says it, but it's not the top billed. And I imagine that the top billed is the one that's playing the lead woman joining a theatrical troupe. So I don't know.
Always as it is.
Yes.
Sometimes it's order of appearance.
Yeah.
Sometimes
the anticlimactic part of the segment is that sometimes Thomas doesn't have any more details as to the context of what is being said.
That's okay. You're not IMDb. That's okay.
No.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm glad that I actually thought about that for more than 5 minutes. I drank that segment out, but I mean, really, initially, I was like, "There's no way it could be, this actress." But then the more I thought about it, I was like, "Wait, actually, yeah, it does directly feel like it would be that conversation." All right,
Yeah.
I know you don't know what I know. That's interesting. And you've not seen any of these, you said.
I've seen Jules and Jim.
You've seen Jules and Jim. Okay. So I have a question about Jules and Jim. I've had a question about Jules and Jim.
Well, I don't know how much I'll be able to tell you.
Okay. What has allowed this to last for decades? Do you remember that? Like, do they all three know that there's this love triangle, or is it like a secret thing?
I remember them all three knowing, yes.
From the beginning?
They're all three, like, together a lot of the time.
Well, right, but are they just friends?
They're all more than friends, yeah.
Well, okay, yeah. What I'm getting at is that they're all more than friends, but I'm saying, is there love happening? So, is there a scene where the impulsive woman kisses one guy and then immediately turns and kisses the other guy?
Perhaps. I don't recall if that happens in this movie that I saw once over 10 years ago that I didn't enjoy very much.
I'm just curious, like, why... maybe it's just someone who wrote this synopsis is just used love... Because when I think of love triangle, I think of, like, something that is more of, like, an affair. More like a...
yeah, no, it definitely, from my memory, is not along those lines. They're all three aware and... from what I recall, for the most part, fairly accepting of it.
Okay, so it's not so much. It's more like they're just like a poly.
Yes,
group. Okay.
Which I think was a thing that was like it was progressive for its time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Having a romance that was like that on screen, I think, was like taboo for the era.
Okay, that was just my question about that.
Also based on a book, I believe. Fun fact.
Yeah, so I was just curious because when you first mentioned the synopsis, the whole decades long or whatever it was, love triangle. I was like, man, how did they hide this for that long? And then and it continued to go. That was really interesting. So that was really my only question about Jules and Jim. But I am wondering if, because you've not seen The Second Wind, correct? That's one you've wanted to see.
Yes.
Okay, so a tried and true, what was that called again? Creative segment, in that we need to figure out what it was that this gangster did. And how does this film open? Do we think that this film opens with him in jail, or does he get arrested? Or is it opening with him escaping? Where does it? So, what's the structure first? Like, how much of this movie is the gangster in prison? How much is his backstory leading up to prison, if any? And then how much of it is dedicated to him escaping?
So, I honestly, and I could be thinking of something else.
Oh, that's fine.
But if I'm not mistaken, I actually think I know partially how the movie opens.
Oh, tell me. Okay, tell me.
If I'm not mistaken, which I very well could be because I've never seen the movie, like I said.
This will be interesting.
I'm pretty sure the movie opens on a train, and I'm pretty sure that the guy makes his escape on a train. I think that's how it opens.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's cool.
Think.
So, okay, well, let's just go with it. Who the fuck cares? That sounds awesome. So was it like a prison train? I mean, sorry. No, I mean, like, I don't mean like he's like in prison perpetually on a train. I mean, like being transported, or is it just he's a passenger on the train as a prisoner? Like, this is a normal passenger train. It's not dedicated to prisoners.
I think it's a thing where he, like, somebody fills him in as to like the schedule of this train, and he's able to time out his escape and get to where the train is going to be.
So he's already escaped.
So
like the opening credits are like him like running through a field to catch the train or something like that.
Yeah,
possibly. Unless this is a completely different movie that you've thought of.
I definitely have the image in my head of like the black and white and the guy getting on the train, and I'm pretty sure that it had something to do with this movie. And for some reason, I have the connection in my head that it was the opening of the movie. I don't know why.
But the elsewhere is just wherever this train takes him. Okay. So let's now figure out what. So that was in the beginning. We'll say that's definitely the first act is dedicated just to the escape, if even the first act. The opening, the opening of the film. So then most of the film is dedicated to him starting a new life elsewhere in crime, and then him being chased or just out of reach of this inspector.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different Melville movie because the Red Circle opens with a dude escaping a fucking a prison, like a jail transfer thing, I think, and he's on a train and he escapes by attacking the officer that's transferring him and jumping out the window of the passenger car that he's in.
So maybe you are thinking about a completely different film.
But anyway, let's keep going. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, my main focus is not necessarily about the train anyway.
Yes.
It could be a train, it could be whatever. My really primary focus here is, what did the gangster end up in jail for?
Yes, and my follow-up question to you regarding that is this gangster that we follow as the main character a character that the audience hates, or that the audience is in some way rooting for as like a lovable criminal? So like, because that would determine like, is he in for like a simple robbery or like petty crime or something like that, or did he like rape someone or something, or like was it like a horrific crime that put him in there?
Because it's a French film, let's answer that after we figure out what he did. Or actually, let's write it down and then don't tell each other. And if we agree, then we agree. If we don't agree, then it's I don't know. It's a third thing. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm going to say it's the opposite. I don't know. Let's say, because I don't. The reason I don't want to answer that right away is because I don't want to necessarily have that write us into a certain type. I mean, that's what you would do if you were writing this. You would figure out first, what kind of character is he, and then you would write something to that. But I kind of want to challenge us to just think of the crime first, like without settling on good or bad. And then whatever comes of this organic exercise, we then try to make it good or bad. So it could be that he was robbing banks, but he was giving that money to the poor. What's his face from Public Enemy?
But if he's robbing the poor and giving the money to the banks,
exactly. But either way, what I'm saying is that it would be fun as a challenge to then make him the opposite of what would naturally feel like that should be. So if he's robbing the poor and giving it to the banks, right, we've got to figure out a way to make that like a character that the audience wants to root for. That's my want in this whole exercise, is to push ourselves to do that. Fair enough? Okay. I'm glad you agree. Anyway, so let's figure out first what it is he's doing. So we assume that this is going to be set in the 60s. That this is not like a 40s time period, maybe, right? It may be, but we'll just say for our sake that it's set in the 60s. So what kind of crimes could we commit in the 60s that a gangster would commit, and that would also land us in prison?
Well, I think that the easy but still not bad option is that he like murdered someone during a robbery or something like that.
But he's a gangster. So whenever I think of gangsters in the 60s, I think of more of closer to mob-like than like closer to organized crime than I think of like thug. Would you agree?
Perhaps.
Like, as in, like, if he's robbing this bank, he's doing it for an organized crime organization rather than just himself or like a couple other like fellow thugs. It's a bigger thing. Do we want to go that route or not? Because my question is that, okay, if he's robbing this bank, like what level in this group is he? Is this like his first thing and he fucks it up because he's not good at it? Or is it something that just happens to go wrong?
Well,
like how does he get caught?
I think with the Melville films that I've seen, I think the gangsters are kind of more like 40s noir types. Like those are the movies that he's inspired by. I don't think it's more like a mob like a big crime ring type situation. I think it's like a small close knit group situation. Okay. Based on the other, maybe this one's different. I don't know, but based on the other crime movies of his that I've seen, it's more like a small group of criminals type situation.
Okay,
and
so
it's
a small group.
The hat and like the fucking trench coat. I don't know why I couldn't think of that, but yeah,
like, you're doing this hand motion. I was like, what are you doing?
All the Melville gangsters the fucking top hat and like the trench coat.
I think we're actually talking about the same thing, because whenever I think of like older gang, that is to me more of a mob style, like Bugsy Siegel and Al Capone, and those guys where they had like these smaller factions of the muscle, or the ones who did all the dirty work, but it was still very much for some kind of organized system. Whereas the closer you get to now, and granted, I'm not talking about like New Jersey mobs here or whatever, but whenever you say gangster now, it is very much like we're running drugs, and I have got like my group of like we grew up poor and we didn't have anything, and it's more of a way to survive than it is a way to do business. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I'm saying, is that I think I'm saying the same thing as you, is that I'm picturing something that's more of doing business, no matter what the size of the organization is, rather than they're doing this just to survive. Yeah. Okay, so we can agree on that. Trench coat and all, because that's what I was picturing too. So someone was murdered in a bank robbery. We got that. Was it intentional that the person was murdered, or was that just because things went crazy?
Definitely, things went crazy situation.
Okay. So no one was supposed to die, but someone did die. And then how did he get caught? And also, was he acting alone?
Gosh.
Because I don't imagine he would rob a bank alone.
No, same.
Okay. So definitely there's multiple people. Someone got murdered. Who got murdered? That's the other question. So now it's the question of, did like someone in the bank get murdered, or did one of his partners get murdered? Or killed?
One. I don't know, a teller.
Okay, I mean, that's an obvious. Yeah. It's either a teller or like a bank patron or something like that, right? Okay, so a teller gets shot by him.
Yes.
Okay, so is he new to this?
No.
Okay, so he's not a rookie, but something happened in which he shot and killed a teller during a bank robbery. So what happened to the other guys?
I think they all take off.
Oh, okay. And he's slow, he's older.
Being that he's the one that killed the person, I think the other guys that are with him, like, they do something in order to like ditch him, like leave him behind in some fashion, or like there's something that they do in order to like, so that they could get away. He gets caught in order for them to get away situation.
So do you think maybe they're doing this to try to get him like out of the ranks?
I think they just did it because he just shot somebody and they weren't supposed to hurt anybody. And they're getting rid of him because he's the one that actually fucking shot the person.
Well, yeah, but they all robbed the bank. I mean, they've all broken the law. So it doesn't make quite much sense why you would just totally abandon each other when there's no evidence yet that he specifically did it. And they've all been, witnessed robbing the place.
Okay.
So I just want a little bit more motivation for why the two other guys, the younger guys, are completely just being like, fuck this old dude, or fuck this guy who could be the same age, whatever, right? But I'm getting out of here. Or to flip that, why did he tag behind? Because I'm thinking that maybe he had maybe a little bit of guilt because that wasn't supposed to happen, and he wanted to get caught a little bit, knowing that the other two guys wouldn't make it in prison without talking. He could shut the fuck up and just say, yeah, I robbed a bank by myself. I killed that person. Put me in jail. That way, the trail ends with him. As far as their investigation.
But then there's other witnesses in the bank.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. So because we still got to throw in this determined inspector, right? Who I think we could say that like the police force just buy whatever Jacques tells them as, yeah, this is good. We got our guy. We're done. But the determined inspector is like, wait a second. There has to be more to this. Because I think his investigation also starts early on, not waiting for Jacques to escape. But they're kind of hunting each other. Or there's a cat and mouse going early on. Mm-hmm. That's why he's so determined. But what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that I forgot about the part where it talks about him starting elsewhere.
Right.
And so I was thinking that ruined my idea of them wanting him to get caught because I don't think he's going to start elsewhere on his own.
Right, yeah.
That was all I kept thinking. It was like, oh,
that's why I was saying that like I think that he knew that he could stop, he could let them get away, and that crime unit or crime, whatever, those gangster, that group of people could continue doing what they're doing. He would take the heat for everything, mm-hmm. which is also why I asked if he shot, because I was thinking at first maybe one of the younger lackeys accidentally got spooked, killed the teller, and he took the heat for it. But I do like the idea that he did it. That works, I think. But he also knows that he can't go back in with that group because, like you said, they would link things together. So he does have to hop a train or a bus or whatever it is and get the hell out of there and go elsewhere. But I still say that like maybe he took the heat and lied to the police. Mm-hmm. The police being the police back then, they just took it as is. We got our guy. He confessed, done. But this one determined inspector who's like maybe not on the police force or maybe is, but whatever. He has a little bit more of a curiosity for things than everyone else. He still thinks there's more to this, and he keeps trying to like figure out how this is all linked, and then the guy escapes. So the only way to like actually solve this bank robbery and killing is by going and getting the one guy mm-hmm. who clearly didn't tell the truth. Mm-hmm. And that's the end of the opening scene.
And then there's 100 more minutes to go.
It's all on a train. It's just the whole time it's on a train. And elsewhere is the actual name of the town that he goes to.
Elsewhere, Connecticut.
Yeah, all the way from France.
Right, the train all the way to the United States.
So, well, that's why the movie's so long. That's exactly why the movie's so long. It's so long. It's just the longest train trip ever. All right. What was that called again?
Yeah.